Well, let's talk about Impact.
Must we?
I can leave.
I know that this sounds hard for some people to believe, but I really would like Impact to be good, and I would really like to like Impact. I think people have this impression that I take glee and delight in burying a bad Impact every week. But what people don't understand is that as part of my job, I have to watch the entire 2 hours of this show. I have to devote 2 hours of my life every week to Impact. So you know what? I really would like if it were good. And wait till we get to the last segment of this goddamn show. Oh my God.
Well, here's the funny thing. I probably won't disagree with anything you say about the show, but I did think it was better than it's been for the past couple weeks.
Well, maybe it was until we got to that last segment.
Yeah.
I got so much to say about the last segment.
Show opened with Eric Young and Abyss brawling backstage. Commentary team was Mike Tenay and Jeremy Borash. They said Taz was not there because he was on assignment. Doing what? What assignment was he on? What did you assign to Taz? So it just turned into the match. Eric Young versus Abyss in a Monsters Ball match. Which the rules are there's a bunch of weapons and you can use them. So they did some stuff. Abyss tried to sit down splash onto the chair, but Eric turned the chair sideways to hit him in the balls, and it looked totally phony. And finally, they bring out the thumbtacks. Young hits a sunset flip powerbomb into the thumbtacks, and this would have been a nasty, violent bump under normal circumstances, so the thumbtacks certainly did not help. And Abyss is bleeding from his arms, and they were stuck all over him. And then Eric went to the top rope, but Abyss just punched him. And Eric went off the top through a table.
It was funny.
That was awesome.
The table is like, the ring's, I don't even know how big the ring is. Let's just say 18 feet. So it's halfway. So it's 9 feet from the corner. So Eric Young is on the top rope, and he gets punched. And this punch is so powerful that it propels him high into the air and 9 feet away to crash through the table.
Right.
Funniest thing you've ever seen.
It was awesome. So Abyss tries the tacks, he tries chairs, he tries the table, and then Eric's kicking out of everything. So he goes under the ring and grabs Janice, the stick with the nails popping out of it. But then, of course, you can't use this because there's no way to fake this thing. So Eric reaches up and he yanks off the mask and the wig. I don't want to shock you all, but it's Joe Park. And Abyss hits a black hole slam for the win. And then he started grabbing his face, realized he had been unmasked, and he picked up the mask and the wig in the corner. And he picked up a random shard of a mirror that just happened to be there. He looked in the mirror and he touched his face and then shook his head. No, it's not me. And then it was to the back.
You know, Janice, I'm sure everyone listening to this is well aware that it's named after Dixie's mom. Whose idea was that?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think if I ran a wrestling company and Whitney, God forbid, was like the figurehead owner. And I had to tell her mom, hey, we named something after you. A board full of nails! Doesn't seem very nice.
Bobby Roode wanted Dixie to sign his new contract. She said she couldn't do it. There was a new investor. He said she owed him a title shot. She said he could face Joe tonight, and if he beat Joe, he could face Magnus at Lockdown. So she can't sign Roode to a new deal, but she can sign him to title matches.
Why would you sign him to a title match if you're not signing him to a new deal?
I don't know.
Hence the history of Impact over the last 6-8 months.
She promised to have his back and basically said that she would help him cheat to win. So she can sign him to a deal, but she can't agree on camera to screw another employee and rob him of potential winnings.
Mm-hmm.
This company is stupid.
And Roode, this is a better show, everybody.
This is a better show. Roode stormed out, and I wanted to storm out too. MVP came out for a promo. He said he had learned a long time ago in his criminal past, there were always consequences for your actions. He said others needed to learn this lesson. He was tired of seeing evil owners screw their talent in the fans. He loved wrestling. He could not stand by and watch what had happened. He had made some money. He knew some other people with money. They all got together with him. They were forcing a change in the company. No more disrespecting the fans. No more disrespecting the talent. So they had an amazing roster and an international fan base, but mismanagement was keeping the company from reaching its potential. He promised that would not happen again. And I know it's the main storyline, but it's still my job to say that it's counterproductive to bury the company in every promo.
I just love the idea that MVP came into a lot of money and he decided to invest in Impact.
Well, it's all right. This is not, and they have made this clear, this is not a business decision. He wants to save the company.
Well, it's a business decision. He invested in it.
But his goal, I'll rephrase myself. His goal is not to make a profit. His goal is to save the company.
Well, then he is a shitty businessman.
That is true.
Maybe one of his other investors is Todd.
He's doing it as a charitable donation.
Maybe he'll start bringing in talent at $15,000 a pop and not advertising them.
So that detail aside, I thought this promo was awesome.
MVP is a great personality and speaker.
He was lively. He brought energy and enthusiasm to this show that's been missing for a long time. Delivery was great. Passion was great. It was awesome. Spud came out. He tried to arrange a meeting between MVP and Dixie. MVP's response to this was to book Magnus in a non-title match against Kurt Angle. That was that.
I should note that Nelson here on Twitter says, when I was a kid living in Switzerland, I knew Jindrak only from the video games. Loved him! Then, when I finally saw him, I cried.
It's a little strong. I've never been moved to tears by Mark Jindrak. Bully Ray was backstage looking at a casket and quoting Coolio. He vowed to take Ken Anderson away from his family. He vowed that the next person he saw would go into the coffin and pay for Anderson's sins. Chris Sabin cut a promo in a lounge or a restaurant or something.
I still don't know what the hell this was.
There was couches and pink lighting.
It's a strip club.
That sounds more like a strip club than a restaurant, actually. Nightclub, maybe. There's no music playing. I don't know. He said that's later. He said Velvet had broken his heart, but she was worth fighting for. He said this room was special to himself and Velvet, and he was going to do something very special there tonight.
Maybe they explain what this room was, but I still don't know. So if anybody knows what this room was, let me know. Yeah. There seemed to be a big picture of a woman in the background.
Maybe it was an art gallery.
It looked like a club or a strip club of some sort, but there was nobody there.
And no music.
Nothing. It was empty, except for him.
This club sucks. Curry Man came out. And by the time this was done, they said this was not technically a match. So I don't know why Curry Man came out. But he came out, his music playing, he was dancing, he did his whole entrance. And then Bully Ray came out, pushing a coffin. And I'm pretty sure that Bully would have seen one of the hundreds and hundreds, well, thousands of fans in attendance before he saw Curry Man. So they should have gone to the coffin. But no. Beat him up, grabbed him for a pile driver, held him up there for a long-ass time, shouting Anderson's name, and then just spiked him onto his head.
That was sad.
Yep. And then he put him in the box. And Curry Man barely fits in the box, so I have no idea how Bully Ray's going to get in there.
Well, hopefully they get a bigger box.
I guess.
Pete here says, this MVP promo sounds like it came from TNA circa 2008 and 2009
yep.
and 2010 and 2011.
Yeah. Yeah. That is depressing. Magnus bitched to Dixie about having to wrestle Angle. She sent him packing.
She's sitting there doing her makeup.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about anything else, but she has to make sure her makeup's good.
Yeah.
So again, the storyline is that she's completely incompetent running Impact.
Yeah. EC3 showed up. They had a tray out of some delicacies, and he wanted some, but they said no, those are for MVP. And Dixie whined about her problems, including her lipstick.
Yeah. Clueless owner.
Yeah.
Hell of a gimmick.
Austin Aries came out for a promo. He vowed that he was going to cash in his X title and become world champion again. The bromance interrupted. It was a setup, so Zema Ion could jump in from behind. And then Zema Ion cashed in his Feast or Fire briefcase. Now, few weeks back, Gunner tried to cash in his Feast or Fire briefcase, and Dixie told him no.
Well, she was busy doing her makeup, Vinny. She wasn't paying attention.
And at the time, I thought, well, they said you get a title shot. I don't think it's like the Money in the Bank briefcase where you get it whenever you want. I think you have to, arrange a match. But no, I was wrong. So that last show from last month got dumber by this angle. So it was Austin Aries versus Zima Ion, and Zima tried to cover him right away, but Aries kicked out, and then Zima worked him over, and Aries made his comeback, and he hit his dropkick, and he hit his brainbuster, and then he won.
I don't think it was, but it came off as like an angle when you switch whoever's in charge of creative, and they just want to get out of all the old storylines. It's just like a nothing segment, a nothing match,
yep.
and they just got rid of the whole briefcase thing. So
yeah,
there you go.
They replayed Sam Shaw's entire date with Christy last week, or at least the entire video we saw of it. And then Shaw met with Hemi earlier today, and she knew everything.
She'd watched the show.
So they explained that. They fixed that logic loophole.
Great.
We still don't know why Sam Shaw sent his security footage into Impact, or why he was surprised Christy saw it.
I would have been so infuriated if they had not done this week, because somebody who was at the show in the audience explained to me that they showed that Sam Shaw footage on the big screen when they taped this show, and guess who's standing right there in the middle of the ring watching it?
I would guess Christy Hemi.
It is correct. It is Christy Hemi. Watched it and then just introduced the next match. So thank God they acknowledged this. And even if they hadn't done that, it's just stupid, the idea that this would air on international television, and Christy would be clueless.
Yeah.
No friends called her. Nobody tweeted. But, hey, she's seen it now, so good.
So she wanted to know what was up with the mannequin. He didn't really have any answer, except he liked to collect things. She said, look, I like you, but we can only be co-workers. Strictly professional. And he said, okay. And then she walked away, and he stared at her with a look that said, it's not okay.
You know, I'm kind of torn on this Sam Shaw character. He's got the look of a creep. Probably sounds bad. I apologize to Sam Shaw, but he looks like a creep. You know what I mean?
He's supposed to look like a creep.
Yeah, he looks like a creep, and he looks like he's kind of a psychopath sort of fella. You know what I mean? But there's also that part of me that thinks like a real psychopath would be charming. You know what I mean?
Ted Bundy was supposed to be a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Friendly, helpful.
Yep.
And then just once in a while he'd do a murder.
Women loved him.
Yeah.
This guy comes off as a guy who in the hell would ever hang around in the same state as this guy?
He might standing side choke you.
He might standing head and arm you.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we almost saw in UFC a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, that was awesome.
I nearly lost my mind. If that would have happened, that would have been something else. It would have become a stupid finisher to a hell of a finisher all in one night. But at the end of the day, it didn't work. So
still sucks.
Still sucks.
Rude was bitching backstage when Magnus told him to shut up, and they bitched at each other. So to recap this, everyone on Magnus's team hates him.
Yeah. It's Impact. Everyone hates everybody.
Dixie and MVP had their meeting. They tried to play nice. She took credit for building this company from the ground up 11 years ago. He asked her how she had done this. She said she treated everyone with fairness. MVP asked if Jeff Hardy or Sting or AJ Styles would agree, mentioning many men who no longer work there. She called them all disgruntled employees. Spud poured them champagne, and he had his back to the room. And I think the impression we were supposed to get was that he was drugging MVP's drink. That didn't matter. Nothing came from that. Perhaps I'm nuts. So Dixie told MVP that working with her, he would get the rub, and then promised that she knew his independent carny language. And MVP said he had made Magnus' match tonight non-title in fairness, and then he walked out. And I have no idea what this accomplished.
I thought this segment was so brutal. I like MVP is doing a good job in terms of being a character, but they're back there talking about something nobody in the world could possibly care about. It's a multi-angle shoot. There's like 10 cameras back there. It's like a high school play. I mean, it was not horrible. Like, sometimes you see a lot of things on Impact and it's just horrible. This wasn't horrible, but I don't tune in to wrestling for a high school play. I don't know anybody who does. And this was one of those segments where if this were not my job, I'd have switched to anything. I'd have switched to football. The segment was just death to me.
Kurt Angle versus Magnus. Like 3 minutes, and they spent most of it not on the same page. And Ethan Carter ran in for the DQ. He had drop-kicked Kurt in the knee, like he was actually trying to dislocate his knee or blow out his ACL or something. He kicked him really hard, is what I'm saying. Kurt on one leg, then beat him up for a while, because EC3's gimmick is that he sucks. And finally, Carter cut him off, and he put him in something resembling a knee bar. And they treated this like a major injury, and they stretchered Kurt backstage. I wrote here that they stretched Kurt backstage, which I don't think that happened.
They may have. Speaking of stretching, this guy says, if you had to get to the other side of the room, and you had to go through Magnus, Joe, or Angle, who would you choose?
Magnus.
I was going to say, that's an easy question. Magnus.
And then after I got done with Magnus, I still had to go through Joe and Angle. I would go back and fight Magnus again.
Wow. All right, go on.
So they go to commercial, and they come back, and Kurt's on the stretcher, and Joe's very concerned, and he turns to the camera, and he gets a very pissed-off promo on Dixie. Said she started a war with the wrong man. He would stand alone. He would stand in defiance, and he was going to win, and they would all pay. It was a hell of a promo by Joe.
Joe's a typical California boy, hates the paparazzi.
He was
so angry at this cameraman.
Yeah.
He should destroy a hotel room next.
Eric cut a promo saying now Abyss knew he was Joe Park, but he, meaning Eric, didn't know what was going to happen next. Hell of a plan.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen next either. Evolution is a mystery.
We went back to Chris Sabin, who, by the way, somebody suggested this was the club, the strip club where Sabin and Velvet met.
Hey, it was where they met.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was trying to make my notes here, and I don't know how I was spelling Velvet, but I was spelling it wrong. And I swear to God Almighty, it auto-corrected it to Velvelhalla. I'm not making this up. I swear to God, that's what it auto-corrected it to. Velvelhalla.
Well, Velvelhalla arrived. She was surprised to see cameras there. And they went to commercial. When they came back, Sabin said this room was, in fact, where they had shared their first kiss on a prior TNA tour. He said last week, Velvet had dumped him. It was the worst moment of his life. But they also cleared his vision, and he knew what he needed to do. He got down on one knee, and he pulled out a ring box, and held it out to her. And then Velvet Sky had to act. And let me tell you, she acted hard.
I mean,
I could tell she was acting so hard.
Oh, yeah. She put her all into this acting.
You've never seen someone act like this.
I got to say.
Take that as you will.
I got to say, I don't know. I don't want to be mean to Velvet or anything like that. But first off, her acting was hideous, number one. Eye rolls, heaving sighs. And then she has to just be the dumbest girl of all time in storyline. So he's an idiot boyfriend. She dumps him. He asks to meet with her again. She doesn't want to be there. And then he pulls out what she believes to be a engagement ring. And now suddenly she's swooning.
Yeah, that's right.
And she can't believe it. And oh my God, I thought you'd never ask. You thought he'd fucking never ask. You dumped his ass last week because he's an idiot. Yeah. All he had to fucking do was produce a ring and you're ready to marry the guy?
All she wanted was diamonds.
Yeah, that's how she came across. All she needed was the dollar bills. The diamonds.
The ice.
The sparkly, the bling.
The rocks.
And all of a sudden, oh my God, oh, Sabin, the man of my dreams.
So then the box was empty. So she did, in fact, come off looking like a goddamn idiot. He explained he wanted her out of his life. He said when he was world champion, all anyone had ever talked about was how he was dating Velvet Sky. And when he said this, Velvet said, "That's not true." And I said, "You're right, Velvet. That's not true."
Was he dating her when he won the title?
At no point during his title reign was Velvet Sky involved in anything he did.
Now you know, selective memory.
And if they had done like a backstage segment or something together, certainly no one ever said they did. There was no hints at the time. There may have been a bit backstage where he was walking with the belt in one arm and Velvet in the other, but she never came to the ring for his matches. She never interfered. She never got involved in any of that. So I don't think they mentioned it. It was certainly not a big deal until after he lost the belt. So, you know, stupid revisionist history. Anyway, Sabin said, "Look, we're both wrestlers. Next week, I'm going to challenge you to a match. If you don't accept, then we'll know you're a coward."
I did think that was a hilarious line. He challenged her to a match, and if she doesn't accept, she's a coward.
That's right.
What a dick.
So he left, and then she had to pretend to cry again.
Yeah.
Going back over this, what did I think about this
What
better?
did you think about? What part of this show did you think was good? Because I haven't found it
enjoyed
yet.
the Young and Abyss match. I enjoyed MVP's promo in the ring. I guess that's it.
I like the main event.
Well, main event was Samoa Joe versus Bobby Roode.
By the way, when they came back from Valhalla's segment, TNA just goes, "Wow."
Which is funny, is exactly what I said.
Yeah, that's what I said too.
In about the same tone. I will read my notes for the main event in their entirety. Samoa Joe versus Bobby Roode. Pretty basic TV match. Roode avoided the Muscle Buster once, but Joe caught him on the second try, then put him away with a rear naked choke. Really, there was hardly more to it than that. It was fine.
Go to the next segment, and I'll get back to this. It'll make sense.
Next segment was the real main event. Dixie came out to the ring. She called out MVP. Wanted to have a discussion about the future of TNA here in the ring on this show. They were in Scotland. She buried Scotland. Everyone booed. She started to explain how everyone would be successful if they followed her lead, and she went on and on and on, and the segment sucked. MVP said he wanted some changes to be made. Her mismanagement had brought the company to his knees. He promised some changes, said the party was over. He left. So after all of the segments of the show, we're right back where we started when MVP debuted last week. It was all a waste of time, and that was the end of Impact.
I think, first off, I hated this segment with such a passion. And I think that part of the problem was that it followed a main event which I liked. Now, Joe and Roode was not the best match I ever saw. It's just kind of a basic match.
It was competent.
But you know what? Samoa Joe went in there with Bobby Roode, and they had a pretty good little match for the time they were given. And Joe beat him clean as a sheet with the choke, and they announced he is now the #1 contender. Why? Because man beats all men, he gets title shot. Great! Joe has been on a roll. He's been beating men with his move. So they put a match together, him and another man. He goes in there, he beats the man, and now guess what? You're #1 contender for the title. Great! But that is not the main event. The main event is Dixie. Dixie and MVP talking about business. Talking about the company. Who gives a fuck? Who could? In what universe is the most important thing in Impact Wrestling? Who the fuck owns the company and what they're going to do with it? I mean, maybe I'm just out to lunch. Maybe all these millions of people can't wait to find out what's going to happen next with MVP and Dixie. They came out here and they talked about who owned the company and what they were going to do. Who cares? How could you care? Vinny, do you care?
I don't.
Anybody out there on Twitter, tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. You're right. I should care about who fucking owns the company and what they're going to do with it. But I don't care. They're out here talking. They're just talking. They're just blah, 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 blah. I own this. I own this. We're going to do this. I'm talking about business. Business. Let's talk about some business. I was begging for it to end so I could watch something else. I don't care about this one bit. And it's not even just TNA. I don't fucking care when Stephanie and Hunter come out and talking about the fucking who's the what do they call them? The Authority.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care about the Authority. Who does? Who cares about the Authority? We come out and we blah, 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 blah. We're the Author, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. It drives me crazy when I watch a wrestling show and the main event on the fucking show is who owns what? Who's in charge of what? I don't care who's in charge of what. Plus, MVP's coming out and the big payoff at the end was, I'm not going to be on your side. The big main event is that they're going to feud over who's in charge. What the fuck does that have to do with wrestling, with the wrestlers, with what I tune into a wrestling show to see? I don't care who's in charge. Not to mention, let's say I do care who's in charge. Let's say that I can't wait to find out what positive changes MVP is going to make to this company. Because as noted, the company sucks. That's the storyline. The company sucks. But MVP is here to turn it around. So if I'm a fan who actually cares about MVP being in charge and not Dixie, where is this going to lead? Is MVP going to bring back AJ Styles?
No.
Is MVP going to bring back Sting?
No.
Because the last I saw, the big bad things that have happened in TNA because of Dixie are she got rid of AJ and she got rid of Sting. Am I missing anything?
No.
I guess maybe that she put the title on Magnus. But that was because she got rid of AJ and she's gotten rid of Sting. Both of whom Magnus beat. So if I do care as a fan about which one of these people is in charge, and God knows why I would care, but let's just say I do, where does this lead? For me, the viewer. I don't think they're bringing AJ back. I'm pretty fucking sure they're not bringing Sting back. So I don't even know how we're going to get a payoff to this. It would just be nice. And again, this is not just Impact. This goes for WWE as well. It would be nice if I could watch a wrestling show and it was about who was the best wrestler. Not who fucking owns the company, who runs the company, who decides who's going to be the champion based on their fucking size or their look or whatever. Who cares about that? You know who cares about that is people that come to this website. They care about the real life backstage stuff that's going on. But I don't think they want to watch that shit play out on their TV. Like, it's intriguing to know what's going on about whether or not Vince McMahon is actually going to put the title on Daniel Bryan. That is an intriguing behind-the-scenes story. But do I want to watch it play out on screen, them telling me that, guess what, we're not going to let Daniel Bryan be the champion because we don't feel he should be the face of the company? Who in God's name could possibly care about that? And now I got to watch it on all of these shows. And I was so excited because we just had Joe. He's on a rampage. He's beating all these men. You know, it's not going to turn the wrestling business around or anything like that. But when it was over, I was like, cool. I know who's the best guy now. Joe. Let's see where it goes. But no, they had to bring it all down with this bullshit about who runs the company. I couldn't possibly care less. Just begging to turn the channel. But again, hey, maybe I'm in the minority.
You are, I don't know. I reached that point you're at a long time ago. Yeah. It would be like, for example, the NBA commissioner just stepped down. And they had a new guy taking his job. And when you watch NBA games this year, when they go between the first and second quarters or between the first half and the second half, I'm sure they'll talk about this. But you know what's going to happen after that? They're going to play some fucking basketball.
It's going to go back to the game.
And the basketball fans get what they want. So, yeah. I guess this is what people want to watch these days. I know I'm old. I've been old for most of my life, really. But it's lame. It's just very, very lame.
I can't even think of like a real life analogy of this happening anywhere else. I can't even like imagine. Like in the Olympics or something like that. If I don't know. Like in the middle of the Olympics, like pick an Olympic winter sport, sledding.
There's a bobsled, yes.
Like okay, bobsled's on at 9. But at 9:15 we're going to break in and we're going to talk about possible terrorist threats at the Olympics. Why? Nobody would want to watch that. They want to watch the Olympics.
Get started.
What a heaving sigh. Vinny, from watching this show, there have been a lot of rumors about Vince Russo returning. From watching this show, do you conclude that Vince Russo is back?
Entirely possible. There's a lot of stupidity. It's a Russo trademark was the incompetent heel authority figure with the hero rising up to take her down, only somehow it never actually leads to a match.
Sounds
Or at
familiar.
least not often. All right, so the first thing that has to be in every show is Dixie coming out for a promo. So Dixie was there, and Spud was there, and Ethan and Magnus. And Dixie starts bragging about having Magnus in her corner, and Ethan takes the mic and says, yeah, and you got your nephew here too, and she just rolls her eyes at him. She can't even put her own nephew over. She wants to make him look like a geek as well. Since all she ever does is bury the entire roster one at a time. Makes her stars look like just complete fools. Magnus cut a heel promo to make sure they booed him, which is funny because they were booing him anyway. He talked for about 6 hours. He called Dixie a beacon of American capitalism, which did make me laugh. Told the same old story about being kicked out of a magazine by Dixie. He was drowned out by boring chants. And Bridget was sitting on the couch with me, and she said, are they chanting boring at him? And I said, yes, because it's fucking boring. And that was the point where she left the room, never to return. She made it 6 minutes in Impact.
Hey, that's better than a lot of people.
So MVP and Samoa Joe came out. Oh, by the way, another sign Vince Russo might be back. MVP's first dialogue was to call Dixie a prostitute.
Wow. It's settled.
He said Magnus is going to defend his title against Joe at Lockdown. I could have sworn they announced that already. Then Gunner came out, because what this segment needed was to go on longer. And he said he was going to cash in his briefcase, but not tonight. He's going to give Magnus 7 days and cash it in next week. Well, then Dixie did more talking. She said, Gunner is facing EC3 tonight, and his briefcase is on the line. Then MVP did some talking. And the only positive of this entire segment, he referred to EC3 as C3PO. And Ethan had such a fantastic look of indignation on his face.
How dare
The audacity of this man to call me C3PO. He was outraged. So, finally, they made Gunner versus EC3 a ladder match with both briefcases on the line, because Ethan still has the tag title briefcase too. This took 12 minutes.
EC3PO.
You didn't watch this show, did you?
No, I didn't. It was impossible.
I'll say.
It was actually physically impossible, not just emotionally.
Anyway, so they have the ladder match next. it went like 3 minutes. Then Magnus ran in, and then Storm ran in. So MVP came out and made it a tag team match. Why not just do a tag team ladder match in the first place?
Well, so you can do some booking.
So you can do some writing?
Mm-hmm.
So it was Gunstorm versus Magnus and EC3 in a double briefcase ladder match. They worked hard. Ethan in particular took a hell of a beating. Like a double hip toss into a ladder. I bet that sucked. Of course, there was a spot where Magnus and Ethan were fighting because you can never have a team that gets along in this company. By the way, also signed Russo is back. The tag team that can't get along. So finally, Gunner climbs up the ladder. He grabs the briefcases. He jumps off the ladder and falls down to the ring, pulling the briefcases with him. Now, he didn't unhook them, mind you. He just yanked the entire cable down to the mat. What a rinky-dink company. So he did that, and then he unhooked them, and he won. Anderson cut a backstage promo saying his match with Ray was not about a biker club or a championship. It was about the one thing he had and Ray didn't, a family. He showed a picture of adorable twin babies on his phone.
Oh, on his phone?
On his phone.
He doesn't have pictures in his wallet?
Dude, who has pictures of their kids in their wallet in 2014?
Yeah, you're maybe right about that.
Maybe they do. I don't have kids. Maybe people do, but
I
would find it much weirder. I would find it much weirder if someone took a picture and then actually you'll have the picture will look better on your phone than it would print it out in a 1-inch thing and go and stuck in your wallet anyway.
What the hell is
the
this?
Bromance.
We just got a random Twitter comment here. I hope the WWE Network does a thorough rundown on fetishes of characters. What does that mean?
I am so stoked that I don't get that tweet. Oh wait, yeah, that's why I was looking at my own. Yep, there it is. Yeah, I was looking at my own interactions.
Hey, Britt here apparently was a big fan of that Mary Hartman. He says it was a good show, a parody of soap operas with overwrought dramatic music.
That does sound funny. I bet Granny did not realize it was a parody.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bromans were pissed at Dixie because he had made a deal with Ethan that he would not cash in his briefcase for their titles as long as they were champs. But now, because of Dixie, that his briefcase was gone, so they were pissed. So MVP walked in and he said Dixie's promises were worthless. He said nobody wanted to see lawyers. They wanted to see wrestlers wrestle. They wanted action. No shit. So he booked the Bromans and Zima against the Wolves and a mystery partner, which was not himself. It was, in fact, Samoa Joe. Match was up next. So they're doing this match, and Davey got distracted from the apron. They got heat on him. As soon as they got the heat on him, an Amber Alert started here in Seattle. And as soon as the Amber Alert ended, Davey made the hot tag. I'm assuming that means the heat segment was not long at all.
Probably not. I was getting my phone sends me Amber Alerts. So I was getting the same thing at the same time. How about that?
Yeah. So Joe ran wild, and the Wolves hit dives, and Joe tapped out Zima with a rear naked choke. Wolves looked good. Really, everyone looked good, but they didn't get enough time to really make it worthwhile.
Well, you don't know that. There was a long Amber Alert.
Wasn't that long.
Maybe there was a bunch of flips during that Amber Alert that you didn't get a chance to see.
Dixie and MVP were trying to coexist in their office. Spud had laid down a yellow duct tape stripe halfway down the room, so that he said one half. And Velvet came in. She asked Dixie to cancel her match with Chris Sabin. Dixie refused, saying Velvet was not paid to sit around and look pretty.
Funny.
Actually, that's almost exactly what she's paid for.
How ironic.
Yes. So that's also true. I hadn't thought of that. So Velvet left. MVP was appalled that they were doing a man versus woman match. And everyone started shouting at each other, and finally MVP booked himself against Spud.
MVP sounds like he's all over this show.
He is.
Is it a positive or a negative?
Positive so far. I mean, if it's like this 6 weeks from now, I may get sick of him. So far, it's positive. He's the best promo in the company. Segments are all, well, they're new now. They won't be new for long, but and it's still the internal logic of there's two people in charge. They can both put matches, but they can never overrule each other. Like MVP was appalled they were doing a man versus woman match, but he couldn't cancel the match because Dixie spoke first, I guess.
Yeah, I don't exactly understand how this relationship works. Wasn't there a deal where like she couldn't sign somebody, but MVP could?
I forget.
And there's something
she
like
told
that.
Rude, like she couldn't. She told Rude she could not sign him to a contract, but she could give him a title match.
That's right.
Which, when you think about it, that makes no sense.
Why can Dixie no longer sign people to contracts?
Well, if she did that and Rude won, then she would once again have a champion with no contract again.
Yeah.
This show sucks.
The storyline makes absolutely no sense.
I had an Eric Young Abyss highlight video. It was set to very sad, somber music. Then Abyss came out for a promo. He had all the Abyss gear on. He was not wearing his mask, but he did have the hood of his sweatshirt pulled over his head so you couldn't see his face. He came out and he said he had not wanted this, but Eric Young had insisted on proving that he and Joe Parker were one and the same. He screamed at Eric to come out and see what he had done. So Eric came out kind of hesitantly, and Abyss screamed at him to get in the ring unless he was afraid, and so Eric jumped in the ring. He said Joe Park had been the one to ask him. Let me start over. It's getting confusing. Eric said Joe Park had asked him to help find Abyss, and he had done that. And Abyss started screaming at Eric. He said, I lost my notes entirely. He started screaming at Eric and said,
This show is just the worst we've ever done.
The sad thing is, Abyss's promo here was really awesome.
You're doing a hell of a job recapping it.
Abyss started screaming about all the carnage he left in his wake. He destroyed himself. He destroyed others. Thumbtacks and barbed wire. His arms were all scarred. But he couldn't do that anymore. He couldn't be that anymore. He had a conscience now. Fans were chanting at him to hug it out. And Abyss said he needed help. And Eric said, I can get you through this. And Abyss said, I don't need your help. I need to go away. I need to fix your mistake. I need to find someone who understands me. He's going to fix this. He dropped the mask at Eric's feet, and the crowd chanted for EY, and did not get over the live crowd like at all, but I thought Abyss was fabulous. Just amazing.
Abyss is very good.
This is very good. We had an earlier today segment where Sam Shaw met with Christie. He repeated that it would be all professional. He had a handshake, and then he sniffed his fingers and walked away.
Oh, Jesus.
MVP versus Spud. They kept showing signs for Spud in the crowd, but they never actually left any of them on camera long enough you could read them. And it's not like they were particularly long signs either. So Spud got some offense, like some eye rakes and some kicks. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Spud tried to stall for a while, and as he was stalling, MVP was like trying to hang out in the corner looking cool. Only you could tell he was completely blown up from his entrance and breathing really hard.
Good start.
So, anyway, yeah, MVP made his comeback. He hit the ball and elbow, he hit the Shining Wizard for the win, and that was it. 75 minutes into the show, Bobby Roode arrived. He stormed into the building, screaming Dixie's name. Couldn't find her. Maybe you showed up on time, homie. Maybe you showed up on time.
Well, I'm sure you realize it doesn't matter when you show up. She's going to be out in 25 segments, so. And he wouldn't be wrong.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. So you know how a lot of times we'll say that, we've said many times that most wrestlers are crazy people. And if you just give them a camera and let them go nuts with it, something entertaining will happen.
Sure.
The Briscoes are a great example of this. There's exceptions to this rule. There are some men who should not be allowed to film their own segments. One of those men is Jeff Hardy.
Oh, I saw this, actually.
You saw this.
Yeah, it was on the board of the thread claiming that he was on drugs again.
I can't imagine why they would get that idea. Jeff Hardy, everyone, is bringing back Will-O the Wisp.
Yeah.
This is the backyard character he played when he was a teenager in the mid-'90s. This is sort of like when Mick Foley brought back Dude Love. Only that at the time was not supposed to be cool. That was like a joke. Jeff Hardy actually thinks Will-O the Wisp was going to get over. Or he's just completely bored and wants to do something different, which I think is the real answer.
Sure.
But this video, what's that?
No, I said sure.
Yeah. So, this video was Jeff Hardy in a mask and face paint and an umbrella, storming through the North Carolina woods, screaming about love and hate and life and death and cackling like a madman. And then they said, Will-O is coming. So there you go. Oh, that's long of the show left. Dixie was on the phone backstage. Rude walked in. He said she owed him a title shot. She said, you got a title shot against Samoa Joe and then you lost. Let's think about this for a second. You got a title shot. Does that mean, like, by definition, you're fighting the champion?
Yeah, I think that when they say you got a title shot, that means you got a shot at the title.
Right, you had a chance to win the title. Rude never got that.
No, he got a shot
Rude
at a title shot.
Yeah. So Rude pointed out how stupid this was. He screamed at her, and he stormed out with nothing resolved, and the camera zoomed in on her face, and she was all sad. Aw, poor Dixie.
Did she do the Dixie eye roll?
No, she was sad. Her feelings were hurt.
Oh, man. I don't like to see that.
Sensitive. Velvet Sky versus Chris Sabin. Now, the last time we saw Velvet, she was desperately trying to get out of this match with her angry and perhaps violent ex-boyfriend. And Dixie said no. So she came out here, skipping down to the ring, high-fiving fans, having a good old time.
Of course.
Sabin came out. He did a over-the-top imitation of Velvet's entrance, which may have been the most entertaining thing he has done in the past year. Now, when I heard about this in the spoilers, the story was that the first spot was he gave her a free shot, and so she kicked him in the balls. I don't know if this was their intent or not, but what actually happened was he gave her a free shot, and she held off, and she kicked him right in the knee. You recall that this man has had ACL surgeries on both of his knees.
Yeah.
So he grabbed his knee, he rubbed it to make sure it hadn't torn again and that his career wasn't over again. And he screamed, "Why did you kick me in the knee?" So, yeah, Velvet missed everyone. Velvet missed his nuts and kicked his knee. So she tried it a second time. This time she got him in the nuts. He laughed, and he showed he was wearing a cup, and he called her stupid, and he turned his back, and she hit him in the nuts again. And she jumped on top and started laying in some horrible hammer fists. Then a mystery woman came in and laid her out, and they were talking about how this woman's huge. This woman's a monster. She's a behemoth. This woman is much, much smaller than Lady Tapa. She's bigger than Sabin. That does not make her huge. So she laid Velvet out with a full Nelson, and Sabin made the cover and got the win. I guess it was a no DQ match. Did they say this last week?
I don't recall. Maybe all men and women matches are no DQ. Who cares?
I guess. So she carried Sabin around on her shoulders for a while. Bully Ray was backstage going through Mr. Anderson's things. He acknowledged the camera, which they never do, but he found Anderson's phone, which was not locked, and he called Anderson's wife. He said a bunch of mean things to her about how he was going to send her husband home in a coffin and tell the twins goodbye. Cameraman found Rude, asked what happened in Dixie's office. He said he had lost it. It was all too much for him. It was over. He needed to figure something out for next week. Security arrived, took him out of the building. He laughed and went willingly. Bully Ray versus Mr. Anderson in a coffin match. Mr. Anderson's tights are so ugly.
I can't wait to hear this review.
Mr. Anderson's the guy who's going to order wrestling tights, is looking through the catalog and says, "You know what I look good in? I have a good in greenish brown. So that's what he got. So they had a fight. They also, by the way, Anderson's types, they also read it DTOM across the ass. I don't know what that means.
Anderson's?
Yeah.
DTOM. I don't know.
I don't know. What?
No, I'm just thinking. I don't know. Go on.
Yeah. So they did a bunch of spots with chairs and a table, and Anderson ended up bleeding underneath the eye. And they brought the tiny little coffin into the ring we've been talking about this whole time. They actually managed to do some spots in there, believe it or not. And the finish was Ray tried a pile driver into the coffin, but Anderson escaped. He managed to hit a mic check that threw Bully Ray into the coffin.
Oh my God! Don't tread on me.
I see. So Ray managed to take a face first bump into this coffin and not break his face in either edge, which is amazing accuracy. And the lid was not actually attached to this coffin; it was just loose. And so Anderson threw the lid on top, only it wouldn't close because the coffin's too small. So he threw the lid on there, and it's just sitting on top of Bully Ray, and the ref calls for the bell.
They couldn't, put Bully Ray in the coffin when they first started looking for coffins for this match?
I guess not.
Oh, my God.
I guess nobody thought this through. Fans really liked this match. It was actually a totally fine brawl, and the box was too small, so I don't know if that's their fault or not, but it was actually, like I say, it was a good brawl.
Maybe there was a sale at the coffin store.
I guess. It's time for the main event backstage segment. Dixie approached MVP, offered him a deal where she would buy his shares of the company, the shares he had just bought without her knowledge somehow, weeks ago. Apparently he'd want to sell them now. And he asked her, "Do you know why I came here?" And she held up her deal and said, "To make money?" She wanted to buy the shares in this company. She asked, "Didn't you come here to make money?" And the way this is written, there was nothing he could say there other than to say no. So these idiots actually wrote a story about how he was a fool for throwing his money into this company or for thinking he'd be able to turn a profit. Either way.
So
finally he proposed.
Go ahead.
I
was just saying this sounds like an awesome show.
He proposed a lethal lockdown match where the winner gets control of the company, and she said no, and he said yes, and she said no, and he said yes, and she said no, and he said yes. And finally she said, "Fine, we'll do it." And that was it.
And that was the end.
It was the worst segment they've done together yet.
Oh, God.
And I can't believe how self-destructive the main storyline of this company is.
Oh, there you go, everybody. That's Impact.
Did open with a graphic for Nelson Frazier. It was very nice of them.
That's very nice.
Had clips of videos of Gunner talking about growing up and wanting to be a wrestler. There'll be much more of this later. Then it was time for the show, and that means Dixie. The show opened, if you think about it, because there's the tribute graphic and then a little more to come video. The actual thing that opened the show was Dixie and her crew having a backstage meeting. And the key to this meeting was they all hated each other. At this point I typed, quote, "I'm already sick of this show." Magnus warned Spud to, and I quote, "keep an eye out for those dwarfs," which I believe was the Wolves, which is at the same time funny and also very stupid. Don't bury your talent, people. Just don't. So after Magnus and Dixie had a backstage segment, Magnus and Dixie came out for a promo. I've mentioned many times I want to have a segment on Raw or SmackDown that's just shopping with Dave Bautista. Mm-hmm. Just go to wherever he buys his clothes and see what goes through. I want to see his process.
Hey, now that we got a network,
great.
You may see it.
Do it weekly. Anyway, the point is, I want to see the same thing with Dixie. I want to see the same thing where she goes in the store and says, "I will take those brown leather pants and a matching brown leather high-heeled boots."
It was quite an outfit.
So Magnus called out MVP. MVP came out. They were still over in Europe. This was taped weeks ago. And he got a superstar reaction. Magnus mentioned MVP's 9-year prison term, said it'd be nothing compared to a 9-minute fight with me. And MVP made fun of him for bragging about his title reign all the time, saying it proved he was insecure. MVP demanded a yes or no answer to his Lethal Lockdown match. Tip for everyone in wrestling: if you are not Daniel Bryan, never ask for a yes or no answer. You're going to get overshadowed. So Magnus accepted the match, but said he would not be in the match because he would be defending his title in that show. And MVP said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Not so fast. You have to defend your title tonight against Gunner. He's a legit badass.
A legit badass.
Because all the other badasses on the show are phony. It's a fake wrestling show. I will say, Magnus at least said, hey, I'm a legit badass too. He vowed to make...
Why is anyone using the term legit badass?
I don't know. You know, to be fair, there are a lot of men on the show who are not legit badasses. Spud, the Bromans.
Whoa. Yeah. They're the tag team champions of the world.
Did you watch this show?
Well, I know that. But they have won matches clean.
Yeah.
We should believe they're legit. What do you mean legit?
Yes.
This is supposed to all be legit.
I know.
The word legit should never be used unless someone there is a rapper.
MVP did rap his own theme song. So a brawl broke out. EC3 ran out. Oh, God. I forgot about this already. So they cut backstage. And the Wolves are there. And they're being held back by 2 random security geeks. You recall, there are 2 guys in the Wolves. But these 2 security geeks were a match for them. Holding them back. So this made the Wolves look like pussies. Thankfully, finally, they shoved the guys aside and threw Spud into a wall or something and ran by him. So then Gunner hit the ring, and EC3 and Magnus bailed, and then the Wolves came out. So let me ask you this. If Gunner had come out and chased the heels out of the ring, and then the Wolves had cut them off, and none of that backstage stuff had aired, would this have been any different?
It would have been better.
Significantly better. That backstage segment sucked. So Magnus shoved EC3 into the Wolves, and he ran away, and they kicked him, and all the babyfaces celebrated. This show sucks already, I wrote.
I hate this storyline. You've got this match coming up, and correct me if I'm wrong. The stipulation is that if MVP's team wins, he gets control of TNA, correct?
If Magnus wins?
No, if MVP's team wins.
If MVP's team wins, he gets control of TNA, yes.
In lockdown, okay. Yeah. So what does that mean? Does that mean that he gets all of the shares?
I guess he gets all of Dixie's shares of the company. Yes.
Is this a multi-million-dollar match?
Well, no, it's for TNA. So $20 match.
So he'll owe money.
He may be in debt, yes.
Or does he get like 1 share? Is 1 share on the line? Because then he'd be a majority owner if he just has 1 extra share.
I haven't thought of that. Well,
maybe it is. Maybe there's like 50 cents on the line in real money.
That could be, because if it's a 50-50 split now, that makes sense.
But I don't know. I mean, I'll just jump ahead. All right, so I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what's on the line here. I don't know what it means if one person has control of the company. But let's just say that the storyline is, for whatever reason, 1 share or however many shares, if MVP's team wins, he is going to get full control of the company. Right?
Yes.
So, is the storyline that they both have 50%?
I guess.
So, if Bobby Roode has been offered 10% of the company if Dixie's team wins, then wouldn't that mean that if her team wins, How would this even work?
She would have 90% and Rude would have 10%.
I see. So he'd also be in debt. They'd all be in debt.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay.
It's no good.
I'm just trying to do some math in my head here. It was very confusing to me.
All right, let's recap. We had a tribute, a more to come clip, a backstage segment, and a promo. Go to commercial, come back, more backstage shit. EC3 is bitching to Magnus. He did have a great line where he said, "You literally threw me to the wolves." That is true. That is true. So they shouted at each other for a while. Then Samoa Joe came out for a promo because there hadn't been enough talking yet in this show. He challenged anyone in Dixie's crew to come out to a fight. The Bromans and Zema Ion came out, and Joe said he would fight all three of them. So we finally got a match. Samoa Joe versus the World Tag Team Champions, the best fighting pair on Earth, and a third man, Zema Ion. They beat him up for a while, made his comeback. He wiped out the Tag Team Champions with the tope. He beat Zema Ion with the Muscle Buster and Rear Naked Choke. Why even have Tag Team Champs? Why bother? What's the point?
Two things. First off, by the way, in that first segment where we had Gunner talking about legit badasses, we also had Mike Tenay describing a kick as a stiff kick.
Yes.
Because, all the other kicks are fake. But that one was stiff. Anyway, to be fair, this exact same goddamn thing WWE does when they're trying to get, it's usually just Triple H, when they want to get some guy over as challenging for the title, he goes in and he beats the tag champs. That's just what they do.
Yeah.
And I will say
they've done
that even though it's stupid that he beat the tag team champs, he at least pinned Zema, and Joe is the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title, so they're doing a great job with Joe. So I can only complain so much about that whole thing. And by the way, if we're talking about shares trading hands, it must be all of the shares, because if it's only one share, then if Dixie had 51% of the company, for example, and then she gave Rude 10%, that would leave her with 41%. So MVP would still be the majority shareholder.
That's true.
So there you go.
Yeah.
This may not even be about shares. Someone here on Twitter saying it's just about control of wrestling operations. But what does that even mean? If the other guy owns half the company.
Okay, you know what? Why should we, the viewer, care?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
We should be wanting to see wrestlers fight to see who's best.
Yeah. And again,
is that a foreign concept? Is that a dead concept?
Listen, I know what they're trying to do, but
I don't.
I'll tell you what they're trying to do. The storyline is, Vinny, that Dixie has run off AJ and Sting and Jeff Hardy. And if MVP wins and gets control of wrestling operations, and this is where the storyline falls apart, when he wins control, he'll bring those guys back. That would at least make sense. But you know what? I'm pretty goddamn sure Sting ain't coming back. I'm pretty sure AJ ain't coming back unless they pay out the ass. Jeff Hardy's coming back as a fucking wasp or something. I don't even know. So that's where the storyline falls apart. When MVP gets control of the company, he's bringing these guys back. So what's the payoff?
I don't know.
Not a fan of this.
We then begin the Christy Hemme Sam Shaw saga.
I'm actually laughing at this now.
Has there been any of these segments that weren't stupid? I believe everything they've done with Sam Shaw and Christy Hemme has been awful. I don't mean awful as in like, boy, that was a bad performance. I mean awful as in no human beings could have recorded this segment and had it come off without being awful.
See, that's the whole thing. Sam Shaw is doing a good job playing a psychopath.
Sure.
But here's the problem. This is like the student film of which I did many, so I have a lot of experience, where a guy has a role of a psychopath, and so he plays it like a complete psychopath. You know what I mean? Why is a psychopath in the movies scary? Why is a psychopath in real life scary?
Well, in real life, because he kills people.
Well, that, but the scary thing, when you watch it, the idea is that, oh my God, I had no idea that this guy was capable of killing someone.
I see.
And it's scary because it could be your significant other. It could be your best friend. It could be your good buddy at work. It could be somebody who in a million years you never expected would suddenly try to kill you. The Sam Shaw character is played as a psychopath 24/7. He's not charming.
No.
You don't go, man.
Never saw that coming.
Well, no, like, oh man, if I were a lady, Sam Shaw would just steal my heart.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
Like, who the fuck would ever hang out with this crazy guy? The character he plays is someone that nobody in their right mind would ever hang out with. He's clearly completely crazy. You have no sympathy really for Christy because why is she hanging around with someone who's clearly crazy? And in storyline, she knows this.
Yes.
She's watched the show. She's still hanging around with this nutcase. It's not like he's it'd be a great psychopath. I don't recommend this, everybody. But if it suddenly turned out that Daniel Bryan was a psychopath, you know what I mean? Like, everyone thinks Daniel Bryan's a great guy. They'd love to hang out with him. You know, you'd go get vegan cupcakes together. He's friendly. He's got a beard. He says yes. You know, friendly guy. Then he kills someone. That's scary.
That would suck.
This guy, Sam Shaw, this psychopath character is preposterous.
So with that in mind, let's discuss this segment. Our show's going to be 4 hours long, isn't it?
I'm trying to get it over with, but I can't.
All this stupidity. They cram so much stupid into 2 hours, it takes longer to extract it and talk about it. So Christy's talking to someone about her bag or something. And she leaves. And this is just some random backstage geek, some technician or something. And Sam Shaw approaches the guy from behind and puts him in a rear naked choke. Now, if you were trying to subdue someone in a workplace environment, you didn't want to draw attention to yourself. You just wanted to get this person out of your way for a while. Rear naked choke is an excellent, excellent way to go. You grab him, you put him out, he takes a nap, you go about your business, no harm, no foul. Shaw then releases the choke so that he can throw the man into a door and then kick him on the ground and assault him. The camera is filming this clear case of assault and battery. It's on foreign soil. It could be an international incident. This should result in a multi-year prison term. No one stops to film anything. And then Sam does whatever and just walks away. No one cared about this random backstage geek. The cameraman didn't help him. We don't know what became of him. No one on commentary even mentioned him. This is all stupid.
I just love the visual of Sam Shaw sneaks up behind him and he grabs him in a sleeper hold, which can silently put a man to sleep. And he says, shh, shh, shh.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, clang!
Wham!
Smashes him into something and sparks fly. Smoke goes up in the air. All of this noise. Let me recreate this, everybody. Shh. 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 Got him. That's what this has come to.
Now, keep something else in mind. This was a pre-tape. This went down, and they looked at the final product and said, yep, that's what we want. That's good shit. You were wrong. This sucked. This sucked 1,000 cocks.
Wow.
And it was going to get worse. I'm starting to get angry again.
Calm down, Vinny. This stuff's funny.
We're like 30 minutes into the actual show.
We're entertaining ourselves.
Bobby Roode and James Storm had a heart-to-heart chat backstage. Roode essentially apologized for all his bad behavior over the years, such as, breaking bottles over his head and whatnot. Said he had pushed everyone out of his life until he was alone. He apologized for all the bad stuff, but there was also good stuff, a lot of special things we did at Beer Money that, what do you say? It can't be recreated.
I like this.
And Storm laughed and he said, hey, All those years we spent on the road dealing with people we don't like, at the end, we're all responsible for our own actions. He got the impression that Rude was going to quit, and he tried to talk him out of it, and he stood up, and they had a hug, and they went their separate ways. It was good. It was kind of weird, but...
Rude wants to get back together again. He's sad they broke up.
Rude acknowledged that he had done some bad shit. And Storm said, that's true. You did. And, we still have a lot in common. We've been through a lot together.
Hey, great. I like it.
You know what? On the Impact scale, this is a 19-star segment.
Yeah. Remember that time when Dolph Ziggler and Big E, after their blood feud, one day they just come out on SmackDown together?
Well, to be fair, that happens in almost every case.
Infuriating.
Guys feud. They stop feuding for a while, but they never make any peace, and then they're just friends again one day.
These guys are both going to be heels. They're both heels now. Mm-hmm. They're going to be teaming up together. And so Rude went and apologized. Yeah, great.
That's true. More backstage shit. Austin Aries met MVP in his office. MVP wanted him to be on the lockdown match. Aries wanted to know what was in it for him. Always a great answer for a babyface. Although I guess he turns heel later in the tapings. So MVP said something, and frankly, I don't even know what the hell his point was. And Aries said he would think about it. They showed clips of the guys talking about the European tour and how large and passionate the crowds had been. I guess large and passionate fans is different than large and passionate crowds. Point being, this segued into how the stress of the road had caused Gail Kim and Madison Rayne to get into a brawl. And it showed the two girls fighting, and a cameraman ran up and squealed, "Somebody break it up! Somebody help!" Fired this man immediately.
I liked how he was yelling for help and freaking out. He didn't go help, mind you.
No!
It's two women rolling around. Get your ass in there and break it up, you idiot. So he's calling for help, and thank God 95-year-old Earl Hebner is there to run in and break it up. So he goes in there to quell the situation, at which point the guy who moments ago was screaming for help starts marking out. Oh, man, yeah! This was no good.
Jesus, the show. So that led to Madison Rayne versus Gail Kim in a street fight. You'll recall that earlier in the show, the only other match we had seen up to this point, it was Samoa Joe versus three dudes. Well, here we are. It's a street fight. There's no DQ, so Lady Top is just in there. It's a 2-on-1 match the whole way.
It must have been Magnus Rules. Oh, wait, that was also the main event.
Yeah. So they did some stuff, and Gail put on the ring post figure 4, and then she grabbed a chair, but the chair ended up being kicked into her face. And when I say the chair was kicked into her face, this was a legit badass spot. Because Madison kicked this chair, and the chair flew into Gail's nose and caused her to bleed. That's no good.
That's really no good.
From that point, it was pretty much all Madison and Lady Tapa doing stuff, and finally Gail won with a belt shot. And that was it. Mr. Anderson was showing Christy pictures of his twins. She was talking about how cute they were. Sam Shaw. So they're in the background. All right. Then in the foreground, so between the camera and Christy, Shaw pokes his head around a wall. He turns around and he makes a mean face and he walks away. So the camera saw him. Never let Christy know. Because the cameraman, like Christy, watches the show and knows this guy's insane. Sam saw the cameraman. Didn't give a fuck. It was stupid. We had a video profile on Gunner that was one of the best things TNA has done in a long time.
This may have been years, actually. This was awesome.
Fantastic. It was all about how he dreamt about being a pro wrestler growing up. And then after 9/11, he joined the Marine Corps. And even while serving in the Corps, he had free weekends to go wrestle for driving 20 hours to get paid with nachos and a Coke. Talked about paying his dues. Now it was all worth it. His dream was to get a world title shot, and he was here, and it was tonight. I wrote that first this should have aired weeks ago to build this match, and I thought, wait a minute, this should have aired years ago.
Actually, I love this so much that I thought this should not have aired. Because after they aired it, it was like, how the fuck can you not put the title on this guy?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he goes out there and he gets beaten. And honest to God, Gunner was the best thing on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Gunner was awesome in his match. Gunner's video package was awesome. Gunner's backstage promo gimmick thing that he did, which actually was part of this video, was awesome. I mean, this is the kind of thing just kind of really made me mad. You know what I mean? Like they had this, they had the Wolves match, which was great. They had this awesome Gunner video, which was great. They had Gunner fighting for the title in the main event, and everyone going nuts for him, which was great. And at the end of the day, well, Gunner lost.
Right back where he started.
We've got all this goofiness with Sam Shaw, and there's one moment where we had like 5 straight backstage segments in a row, a bunch of stupid TV show style stuff that, I don't know. It was depressing. That's when I get depressed, when like, if the whole show just like sucked start to finish, it'd be like, all right, show sucks. Who gives a shit? Just a bad show. I don't care. Which is actually kind of where I was at the beginning. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm getting mad. Instead, I watch the show and I see things that are actually really good. Like, they do have talent. And they have the ability to make these great personalities, serious personality packages. But here I am watching this Gunner thing, which is the best thing they put together in forever, on the same show where Sam Shaw's fucking doing whatever he's doing. You know? Just sucks. Pisses me off now that I think about it. I mean, what's wrong with just like having a good show?
I guess that's too much to ask.
Well, apparently, just get rid of the crap and use the good shit you've got, and let's give it a shot. Honest to God, I don't know, but I really think Russo is back. Because the Russo rumor started a few months ago, and this show has fallen off a cliff in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
There was a period where I was enjoying the show on a weekly basis.
I remember that.
And then, like, all of a sudden, it just started to suck. And it was just like, what has changed? You know what I mean? Like, it was good. I liked it. Now it sucks. And then you start hearing Russo's name popping up. And maybe Russo's name is just popping up because the show has started to suck, and people presume, well, Russo must be back. Or maybe he really is back. I don't know. But I know I've heard the rumors, and the evidence on this show would lead one to believe that there is a possibility that he has returned.
You know, I honestly don't care.
Oh, I care. I was having much more fun when I liked the show every week.
This show sucks. Whoever is making this sucky show is irrelevant. The bottom line is, the show sucks. So those responsible also suck. If it's Russo, he sucks. If it's someone else, they suck. Bottom line is, everything sucks. EC3 cut a backstage promo. Said that next week, Angle would be back for his Hall of Fame ceremony. He hinted Angle would retire, and he basically took credit for that. Storm gave Gunner a pep talk backstage. Didn't really occur to me at the time, but you talked about how this should not have, the Gunner video should not have aired because it was so great, and then he went out and he lost.
Mm-hmm.
Gunner had a line here about fighting for his friends who had died in battle and never got a chance to come home and achieve their dreams.
Yeah.
And he went out and lost. That sucks.
I would have taken that line out.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, Brutal Bob Evans here says Whale NATO should be the name of the match between Vincent Verhey and the Wild Man Congo.
What match between Vincent Verhey and Wild
The
Man
one
Congo?
you and Congo did, that Iron Man match.
I turned that down.
It doesn't matter.
It's C.
You know, booking is irrelevant nowadays. We just do shit.
I don't want to do it.
You turn it down, so we do it anyway.
I don't want an Iron Man match with anyone.
You talk about how you're not going to do any good, and we book it anyway. So it's thus to remove interest. That's how wrestling is nowadays.
So the end of this was Gunner handing Storm his tag title shot briefcase. He said, we'll win the tag titles after I win the world title. So I guess that's binding now. Are we going to tune in next week and Storm still has his tag title briefcase? Because if so, that's stupid. Bobby Roode came out for a promo because what this show needed was more goddamn talking. Let's think about this for a second. TNA. Total non-stop action.
Well, they changed the name.
Well, they didn't.
Impact Wrestling.
Anyway. Roode came out.
And he retired. And I yawned. Who gives a fuck?
Career.
Who could believe any of this? Yet another fake retirement. Dixie came out. I'm just going to cut to the chase. She won't let him quit.
By the way, let's stop there. You can't quit.
Yeah.
He's a slave?
Yeah.
What happens if he just doesn't show up to work anymore?
Well, he would
still pay him?
I mean, he'd be in breach of contract.
All right.
I don't have a problem with this. But she brings up AJ. So, of course, everyone chants for AJ Styles. My notes here, blah, blah, blah. He wants out of the company. He does not want to work for Dixie anymore. He wants to leave TNA. The fans, of course, cheer. Awesome. She wants him captain. She offers 10%. The gimmick was that he was a rich guy who was smart, killed the gimmick. He accepts.
That's how it went. This is actually the point in the show where I really began to just simmer and stew. And I know this is not news, but the main storyline of this company, the main storyline of this program, the person in charge is such a goddamn idiot that she's driven away the top baby faces like Jeff Hardy and Sting and Kurt Angle. Now she's starting to drive away the top heels as well. Can you imagine if, what the hell's the name of the guy who beat Silva? Weidman. Weidman just had a press conference and said, Dana White sucks. I don't want to work for him anymore. Here's a UFC belt. I'm leaving. And then Cain Velasquez followed suit. That would be stupid, right? They'd fire Dana immediately. TNA had celebrated.
That's a weird analogy.
I was trying to think of UFC fighters. All I could think of was like Brock Lesnar and all the guys from back when I used to watch. Anyway, I would make a sports analogy, but it would go over your head, so I don't waste my time.
Well, tell it to everybody else.
Imagine. Actually, you know what? There is a real life analogy. This actually is happening. The Cleveland Browns is a football team, and they are in complete, absolute chaos and disarray. Their owner is under federal indictment.
That's worse than Dixie.
That is worse than Dixie. They finished the season and they were lousy, and they fired their coach. It's actually gotten so complicated. I forget what the order was. But they fired their coach and then hired a coach, and then a couple weeks later they fired the guy whose job it is to hire the coach.
Serious matter here.
So now they're one of their lousy football players has stepped up and said, I want off this team. And everyone's saying, you know what? I don't blame you, but I don't blame them for wanting to get rid of you either, because all of you suck. You're all a complete joke. That is TNA. They are the Cleveland Browns of goddamn pro wrestling. I just realized that. It's not a good thing. That's a horrible fucking thing.
Preach on.
Jerry Borash was backstage for more goddamn speech. He was there with Bad Bones, the worldwide online gut check winner. A contest so important, it had never been mentioned on Impact before.
They might have done a better job.
Don't fucking say. So the winner was a man named Bad Bones. I've actually heard of before, and frankly, that's a badass name. I won't lie. Bad Bones is a great name for a wrestler. So Bad Bones...
Doesn't that mean he's brittle?
I suppose you take it literally.
How about Strong Bones?
Anderson Silva has some bad bones. So Bad Bones began to cut a promo in German. In the background...
Which, by the way, that's That's what we need.
I don't even. Of all the things to complain about on this show.
Does Borash speak German?
Of all the things to complain about on this show.
Well,
a man
actually,
cutting
I
a
gotta
promo in
complain
his
about
native
this.
tongue.
I mean, come on. He's the global gut check winner, and this is a chance to do a worldwide interview, and he's speaking German?
Well, there's a lot of people who speak German in the
Couldn't they
world.
have at least had a guy there getting ready to translate?
They didn't have a guy getting ready to translate. What they had was, in the background, Mr. Anderson and Christy Hemme still looking at his goddamn phone.
A lot of pictures.
Like an hour later.
Hey, when I have babies, you'll all be looking at pictures for years.
So Sam Shaw comes flying in and out of nowhere. He rams Mr. Anderson and Christy Hemme into a wall, instantly knocking them both unconscious. He has knocked them out cold.
Yeah, powerful man.
He picks up Christy Hemme's body.
Like the creature from the Black Lagoon. That's exactly how he picked her up.
It is. It is.
It kind of looked like the creature.
And he walks away. We have just seen on camera a double assault and a kidnapping.
Yeah. And by the way, if you recall, earlier in the show, as segments come back to bite them on the ass, two girls were rolling around having a cat fight, and they called the Marines in to break this situation up. Here, Jeremy Borash and Bad Bones are right there when this occurs. Where the fuck were they?
Let's look over the men who could have done something to stop this kidnapping. Jeremy Borash, the cameraman, and worst of all, Bad Bones, a pro wrestler looking to make a name for himself on an international stage. I would think rescuing a woman from a crime would make a name for yourself. Maybe it's just me.
Well, from now on, he's known as Sad Bones.
Shitty Bones.
Sad Sack Sap.
Useless Bones.
By the way, Hulkamat here notes that Bad Bones won the Global Gut Check in June 2013.
So
Took him a while to walk to Impact, apparently.
well, maybe they always plan on doing this in the European tour.
I see.
I don't know. You win the gut check contest, but it's only TNA. We can't afford to fly you across the Atlantic. Come on now. So, as discussed, we have just seen a kidnapping on the air. They come back from break, and Mike Tenay is so concerned about the fate of his friend and colleague Christy Hemme that he plugs some house shows.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe he may have also said, "Where's Sam Shaw going?"
Did he?
I think so.
I don't know if that's actually better
He
or
was
worse
one
than
way or
not
the
acknowledging
other.
it at all.
One way or the other, he was unconcerned.
He was completely indifferent.
Now, to be fair to Bad Bones and Jeremy Borash and the cameraman, maybe they thought that it was an accident and that Sam Shaw was taking Christy to the medics.
I will admit I had not thought of that.
Just because he's a psychopath doesn't mean Borash and Bad Bones do.
Borash doesn't want Impact?
Well, you're right, he does. Well, Bad Bones, I don't know.
I both thought this man looks friendly. This man who just shoved her into a wall in the first place.
It's an accident. Hey, he's Bad Bones. He don't give a shit. This guy here wants to know how long we're going to talk about this damn Impact show. Well, listen.
Until we're done!
Listen, John, when we're done, the show's going to go off the air, so just go ahead and shut it off now.
That's also true. If you're tired of us, hey, I'm tired of talking about it, but there's more. All right, so it gets worse. Christy Hemme actually has a job on Impact.
That's right.
Christy Hemme's job is to be the ring announcer. She stands in the ring with a microphone, and as wrestlers come down the aisle, she gives their weights and their hometowns and their nicknames and their name. Well, now she's been kidnapped. Now she's not there to do her job. TNA can't be bothered to call the authorities or just stop Sam Shaw by themselves. They let this man kidnap their employee, and then say, "Hey, JB, go do ring announcing."
Well, to be fair, I believe Borash may have been ring announcing all night because Chrissy was busy backstage looking at pictures on Mr. Anderson's phone.
Maybe she was.
So maybe we need to give a begrudging respect to Jeremy Borash, who, despite seeing Christy wiped out and kidnapped, knew that he had a job to do. The show must go on.
backstage. Bad Influence was happy to hear that Bobby Roode was the captain of the lockdown team. I figured this meant they get a spot in the match for sure. He said, "Hey guys, we're friends, but you still have to prove you deserve a spot in that match. You need to show me something tonight." They were shocked at this rejection. Bad Influence versus the Wolves.
Great match.
Had a great match, as great as it could be in 5 minutes. It was also a great match if you are a fan of double teams. I'm not sure until the very end if there were ever less than 3 men in the ring at any one time. There was a lot of double teams going on. So the Wolves ran wild, hit a bunch of, double teams, and finally Davey hit a top rope foot stomp for the win. It was really good. It was very short. It was short. And I did like when TNA called it another big win for the Wolves. This is their first win as a tag team on Impact.
Yeah.
The other one was in a 6-man tag, and Joe actually got the win there. Sam Shaw.
He's back.
Carried his victim.
True psychopath. You can't get rid of him.
To wherever the hell they were. The cameraman followed to wherever the hell they were. Shaw put Christy on a table. At this point, Christy came to. "Where am I?" she asked. "Where's Mr. Anderson?"
I was looking at pictures on his phone.
Oh, she grabbed her head. This is not as bad as Velvet's fake crying last week. Or whenever that was. But it was bad. And then Shaw spotted the cameraman.
It only took him 6 weeks of television to notice there's a cameraman
Everywhere.
spying on him all the time. No wonder he's a psychopath.
He spotted the cameraman. He said, and I quote, "Hey!" And then the screen went black.
I still want to know what happened to Christy.
We don't know what happened to Christy. We don't know what happened to Sam Shaw. We don't know what happened to the cameraman.
Well, I hope someone did an investigation.
I hate this show. I hate this company. I hate this show. Then we got a Will-O-the-Wisp promo. I repeat, I hate this show, I hate this company, and I hate this show.
I didn't mind this. I thought it was pretty good. Am I the only one?
Did you watch the last one?
No, just this one.
I believe he said the exact same thing in both of them.
That's probably the same one then.
But no, because there's different camera shots and stuff.
I see.
But we had a Magnus profile video that was sort of...
Whoa. I hate to interrupt. On the TNA website, there is coverage of tonight's Impact. I would like to read some of it to you. Let's just cut to the chase.
Go on.
I'm trying to find it here. Backstage, Samuel Shaw saw Mr. Anderson talking to Christy Hemme and went berserk! ! While Shaw brawled with Anderson, he accidentally hit Christy and knocked her into a wall, leaving her unconscious! Later, Shaw was with Christy when she woke up, but he chased the cameraman away. Moving on, in tag team action, blah, blah, blah.
What kind of moron would watch this show?
There seems to be no update on her here.
Well, he chased the cameraman away. What more is to be said?
I guess that's it. That's the end of the story.
He then proceeded to murder her. That would be the next sentence.
On the bright side, main event, liked it.
They had a Magnus video. It was in character talking about how every champion had to suck up to the people they worked for. Main event was fun. Wasn't like I don't know if I ever felt like it was a important world championship match. I thought it was a good Impact main event.
It was a pretty average match until the comeback by Gunner,
Yep.
which was an excellent babyface comeback.
Yep. Storm and the Wolves came out to run interference the whole way. Didn't stop the Bromans and EC3 coming out for a brawl. When this happened, all I could think was, when Mick Foley won his first championship, fighting The Rock, and he's got the Corporation on one side of the floor and DX on the other, and then at the end, Austin came in and the place just went, ballistic insane. What a ridiculous reaction. This is not like that.
No.
It's like, oh, there's some more dudes.
Dude, it's every main event
Yeah.
with Magnus.
Yeah.
Bunch of dudes run into the ring. I've seen it a million times. I stopped caring a long time ago. Thank God Gunner was awesome in this match.
Gunner's comeback was great, especially when he rammed his own head into the turnbuckles like Terry Gordy.
Well, that's probably not for the best.
I don't think that's going to hurt him too bad. But anyway, Storm came down. He chased Spud away. He was cheering Gunner on, and then when Gunner came off the top rope, Storm hit him with a super kick. Swerve, brother.
Yeah, no champion, no new champion.
Magnus made the pin. So he's still got the weak-ass champion that everyone knows. It. The whole gimmick is that all the people know he's a shitty champion. Your hero is back to being a geek 1 hour later. This turn made no sense. Well,
that made sense.
Actually, I take it back. The storyline between Gunner and Storm has been so convoluted and nonsensical that nothing they could do at this point would make sense. If they were friends, it makes no sense. If they're enemies, it makes no sense. The whole thing is just stupid.
I thought it made perfect sense. Gunner stole the briefcase from Storm, essentially. Storm's mad and jealous. Turned on his friend. Fucked him out of the title.
Like 3 months later?
Yeah. Slow build.
Except it hasn't been a slow build. They've broken up and gotten back together like 4 times.
Well, that was for the swerve, Vinny. And when they had that nice thing that was actually such a nice... It was so nice when they got back together that I wanted them to be a team forever. So that then we would all be surprised when Storm turned on him. It's typical Vince Russo, actually. But it was better than usual. They actually didn't just do a swerve for no reason. Well, they did. What am I talking about? I quit.
Show.
How's Impact, everybody?
Don't watch it. I implore you. Do not watch the show.
Wow. What was the last TNA championship match that ended cleanly, this guy asked. He's thinking Genesis 2013.
What the fuck was Genesis 2013?
I don't know, but apparently it had a clean finish.
Who knows the main events of TNA shows by their name?
Well, this guy probably went back through Wikipedia. So that was NXT, everybody. And let us do Impact.
We're an hour into the show. We haven't even started the main event.
Impact is the main event.
That's
I actually
what we do last.
Until the Velvet Sky match, when this plunged into an abyss of terror, I kind of like this show.
This is a much better show than what they've been doing lately.
In fact, it was such a good show. In fact, that I'm constantly astonished. Like, there were a string of good impacts, and then there were the string of these god-awful impacts, including last week's show. And now suddenly, in the same country, in the same set of tapings, completely at random it seems, we had another good show. What's going on here?
I don't know. Gunner was backstage storming around looking for James Storm. We mentioned how this show was better and couldn't figure out why. It may be a coincidence, but Dixie was not on this show.
That is true. There was no Dixie Carter.
So they said that she had left Magnus, Spud, and Bobby Roode in charge. And as soon as they said this, MVP came out and he said he was in charge. And then he told Gunner Sunday he was going to be in charge. I am so confused by all this.
I don't even think about it anymore.
Joe and Magnus came out for promos. Jibber-jabbered a bit. MVP explained that in the cage match, Magnus rules would not be in effect. And I believe Magnus rules have been no count out, no DQ.
Magnus rules means that the other guy is going to whip your ass, and then he's going to look like a hero, and then he'll get screwed and leave. Pretty sure those are Magnus rules.
Well, this match is going to be under Joe's rules, which is no pinfalls, only way to win is submission or knockout.
Wow.
So
why would you remove pinfalls?
I don't know.
If you're Joe?
I guess he doesn't think Magnus can submit him.
But he thinks that Magnus might be able to pin him?
He fears Magnus's backslide or small package more than he fears his sleeper hold. I don't know. So, anyway, Magnus was not afraid of this. He said Joe was an animal.
but he was a champion and a gentleman, and he said he would win. And eventually they started brawling, and Geeks came out to separate them.
Magnus is doing a very good job carrying himself as the world champion. Joe, on the other hand, Joe actually, what they've done with Joe in the ring has been awesome, but my God, what was he wearing out here?
He looked like a fan. Jeans and t-shirt.
This wasn't good. Some people can get away with the jeans and the t-shirt look, but you got to be like a... how can I explain this?
It wasn't like a Samoa Joe t-shirt either.
If you look like a Hollywood megastar, someone who's going to be on the cover of People magazine's 50 most beautiful people in the world, great body, great face, great hair, the whole 9 yards, then yeah, you could wear jeans and a t-shirt and you'll look like $1 million. If you don't, it's very difficult to look like $1 million dressed in that outfit. You've got to wear a suit and a tie, and you've got to wear your money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, there are a handful of people in this business that can get away with. It doesn't matter what they wear; they're going to look awesome. Most of them, you got to wear something nice. And Joe was out there wearing something he looked like he got at a secondhand store, and didn't work.
Speaking of looks, I have to mention this. There's an Andre the Giant promo on the network right now. Andre the Giant.
Oh God, the one with Warrior?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Andre the Giant's a man who lived his entire life with and eventually died of an overactive pituitary gland. How could he not have grown a better beard than that?
What?
Look at his facial hair.
Where the hell did this come? What the hell did that have to do with his pituitary gland?
Well, that's not what
that'd be your testosterone.
It's not the same thing?
Growth hormone and testosterone are not, in fact, the same thing.
All right. I apologize to Andre for insulting his beard.
That's right. Just watch Warrior here. He's just a madman. And then all of a sudden, at the end of this promo, watch this. Now watch him walk away. Watch.
And Andre grabs his head.
He's trying not to laugh.
I'm sure he was.
Warrior leaves the scene by turning around, raising his arms in the air, and roaring as he walks off stage. That was awesome.
How could anyone not want to buy the network? Seriously.
It's pretty great.
They showed the Wolves winning the tag team titles in front of dozens of their closest friends.
Wow, this person said Joe looked like a fat, dodgy plumber. Really? Was that necessary?
I don't think that's true. So after the match, the Bromans and Zema Ion went to storm into Bobby Roode's office, and the three of them found 3 different doors and stormed through all 3 of them. I laughed. So Bobby Roode now can also book matches. So he booked Bromans against Bad Influence and the Wolves in a 3-way. And if Bad Influence won, they were in the lockdown match. If the Bromans won, they were in the lockdown match. And if the Wolves won, neither team was in the lockdown match. So it's a 3-way tag, and it's all the Wolves and Bad Influence having a fast-paced Ring of Honor-style spot fest. And Davey goes up top to hit a foot stomp, and as he's on the top rope, one of the Bromans reaches up and tags in his ankle. And Davey hits the foot stomp. The Bromans throw him out, and they steal the pin to win.
Yeah.
So Bromans are in the lockdown match. Ethan Carter announced that Dixie had said he could pick his own opponent, so he had picked one of England's greatest wrestlers. He also vowed to reveal the truth about Kurt Angle tonight here on Kurt's Hall of Fame ceremony. Bobby Roode was talking to Austin Aries backstage, asked if he trusted MVP, and the gimmick was that they are both teams are recruiting Aries for lockdown. Roode asked, "Who would you rather have guiding your career, MVP or Dixie?" MVP.
I would vote MVP as well.
100 times MVP. If MVP failed, I would give him another chance. And if he failed again, I'd give him a 3rd chance. And a dozen chances before I went to Dixie Carter. So EC3's mystery opponent was Doug Williams. Ethan announced before Doug and the English crowd that the U.S. was going to defeat England to win the World Cup in soccer. I laughed. So Doug beat him up for a minute or two. Ethan hit a foul, and I thought, okay, he's got the heat, I can turn away. And I turned my head, and the next thing you know, Ethan had pinned him. So if he hit another move there, I have no idea what it was. They never showed a replay because it's Impact, and they never show replays.
Doug Williams looked great.
Yeah.
Then he was beaten.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Ethan put him in a knee bar for good measure.
Didn't expect Doug to beat him, but they could have had like a longer, better match. You know, when you got a guy like Doug Williams, utilize him.
Well, the one thing about the show, as much as it was better than what they've been doing, this was a 3-hour show squeezed into 2 hours. Almost, maybe a 2.5-hour show squeezed into 2 hours. Almost everything went too fast. Or short. Except the women's match was way too long. So James Storm arrived. Speaking of things that went too fast, James Storm called Gunner out for a promo battle, and these guys, as soon as one guy completed his sentence, the next guy had opened his mouth to speak already, so nothing they said could sink in. And Gunner said, "Yes, I screwed you out of the title, and I decided to do that as soon as you screwed me out of the briefcase." And Gunner said Storm was free to sit at home and drink beer because guys like him had fought and died overseas. Storm said nobody cared about that. Gunner said my family cared and these people cared. Storm said nobody gave a damn about you, and they had a brawl. And it was pretty offensive, especially when Storm said that no one cared if these people lived or died. And more importantly, it was just way too fast, and no one had time to actually care about anything.
I just get annoyed because these guys, they could have done just as good a deal without throwing that shit in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No one's going to care about the match more.
And listen, James Storm and Gunner, they both are capable of cutting a passionate promo on each other without having to mention real people dying. It doesn't add anything to it. It only detracts, in fact. And it's funny, too, because, like, James Storm screwed Gunner out of the world title last week. If you recall, Gunner was fighting for his fallen brothers. So it's now been 2 weeks they've been talking about this. And he gets beaten because James Storm fucks him, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest moment of his life, fighting for his fallen brothers, the whole 9 yards. He goes out there and James Storm fucks him. So James Storm comes out here and he calls out Gunner, and Gunner comes to the ring, and he gets in the ring, and he stands and he listens to what James Storm has to say.
Yeah.
Like, what? You should have run down here. You should have been looking for this guy from the moment the show started.
He was.
You should have had vignettes like all week long. You're looking for James Storm all over the UK. And James Storm, you find it because he comes down to the ring, and you're hot on his tail. You run your ass down there and you beat the shit out of him. Why are you coming down here and listening to his explanation? What explanation was Gunner thinking that James Storm might have that would justify his actions? You know what I mean?
Yes.
This would have been better if it would have just been the wild, violent attack and Gunner trying to get his revenge. Gunner listening was just wacky.
Samoa Joe versus Bad Bones.
Bad Bones from Germany.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Yeah. Magnus explained he was the only tough guy in England, so he had to go to Germany to find somebody to fight Joe. So Bones hit some offense, mostly kicks, and then Joe cut him off and hit the muscle buster and choked for the win.
Great. It is not hard to get over a man for a championship match.
Have him whip everyone's ass.
He comes out and he kicks everyone's ass. That's what Joe's doing. Joe's been on an ass-kicking rampage, and he's going to be fighting for the title in a week and a half. Great. And I love Bad Bones from Germany. BBFG.
It's time for Kurt Angle's Hall of Fame induction. Boras was in the ring talking about how Angle had changed the company and changed the industry. Fans all chanted Angle's name. It showed an Angle highlight video that included a montage of moonsaults off the tops of cages.
That's what he's best known for.
So Kurt came out. When you go in the TNA Hall of Fame, you get a watch. So Boras gave him a watch. Fans gave him a giant ovation. This segment, actually, they gave this the time it needed. And actually, this segment was the best thing on the show.
It's very good.
So Kurt's talking about how he had first been named to the Hall of Fame. He was in a dark place in his life, a low point in his life. He needed to turn things around before he could accept the induction. He thanked his wife and kids, said he wanted to make them proud. Thanked all the boys in the back. Thanked all the fans.
It was all very nice. It seemed like he was all done when Ethan Carter came out. And Ethan said he had a tribute video of his own. And the tribute video was shots of himself taking out Kurt's leg and whacking him in the leg with a chair. And this video included, as he was taking Kurt apart, they edited in the fans chanting, "This is awesome," and also edited in thought balloons for Ethan, thinking things like, "I can't wait to tweet about this later." So after this, Ethan said he was here to reveal some news, and Kurt said, "Why don't you come on down? I can't wait to hear what your news is." And Ethan strolled down all cocky. And he said the news was that Kurt had torn his ACL, he had torn his MCL, he needed surgery, his career was in jeopardy, and in fact, the smart thing for him to do would just be retire right now. And Kurt took all this in, heard him out, said, "Where do you get those sources?" And Ethan said, "On the internet. The internet is right 50% of the time." And Kurt said, "Well, my ACL is not torn. My MCL is not torn." And he asked Ethan, "At this point, do you really want to be in the ring with me?" And Ethan said, "Not really." Ethan really won. Ethan won me over here. So Angle said, "I understand. You're new. You're looking to make a name for yourself, but why would you start with me?" And at this point, he punched poor Ethan right in the mouth. He just hauled off and decked him.
This is quite the shot.
He hit him hard. I laughed hard. So Ethan bailed. Kurt announced that the new investor, that's what he said, so maybe this was filmed before the MVP reveal. So the new investor had granted him a cage match at Lockdown against anyone he wanted as a Hall of Fame gift. And so he was picking EC3. This was really fun. Madison Rayne and Velvet Sky versus Lady Tapa and Alpha Female. Brian, I'm just going to yield the floor to you.
This match. All I wrote here was OMG horrifying.
You're not wrong.
This is where the show really fell off the cliff. It had Lady Tapa, the Alpha Female, Velvet, and Madison all in the ring together. It was just a train wreck. Like, everything was bad. Like, every single thing in this match was bad. There's not one moment in this match that was any good. Horrifying, hideous match. I can't even remember who won. I was just like, sometimes you watch a match. I mean, I realize this is my job, everybody. But sometimes you watch a match and you have to fight to pay attention. And sometimes you lose the fight. Okay? Sometimes a match comes on and you just like, everything you do stops. Doesn't matter who's texting you. There's no second screen experience. You just watch it start to finish. Like Antonio Cesaro and Sami Zayn tonight. And then sometimes you have a match like Lady Tapa and the Alpha Female against Velvet and Madison, where you do commentary the entire match because you cannot believe your eyes. And it's like, oh my God, what the hell was that? Go home! Stop wrestling! That's what I did for 5 minutes watching this match.
At one point, you were just screaming, "End!
End!" Yeah, it's like they're having this terrifying match, and something happens, which could be a finish, but then they keep going. And so you're screaming at them, just end the goddamn match, just get it over with. This match was really, really bad.
I will just add that as these four women, I don't mean to pick on them, but as these four women were having this terrible match, Chris Sabin and Gail Kim were standing on the floor, or occasionally interfering, but still. So ODB came out and made the save, and that was that.
You know, somebody made a very good point on Twitter, and that is just what we need in 10 days. Kurt Angle messed up having to do a moonsault off a cage against EC3.
Yeah.
Because it's Lockdown, and Kurt Angle has demanded they have a match inside a steel cage.
Yeah.
Because Lockdown is not normally inside a steel cage, I guess. So it's basically a steel cage match inside a steel cage.
I suppose so.
Angle cannot do a moonsault on this show.
I would prefer he did not.
I will not allow it. There's got to be a way for Kurt Angle to not have to do a goddamn moonsault in this match. Maybe that could be the contest. If anybody from TNA is listening, see if you can book a great Kurt Angle match at Lockdown that does not involve Kurt Angle having to do a moonsault off the top of the cage. That is my challenge to you. Can you do it?
Had a quick video profiling a new talent, Tigre Uno. He's coming in. It's a guy in a tiger mask.
One tiger?
That would be the translation, yes. All right, you recall that one of the reasons I hated last week's Impact so much, one of them, was because Sam Shaw assaulted and abducted a woman on camera, and no one seemed to care.
Yeah.
So here we are, more than an hour into the next week's show. No one has mentioned this yet.
We don't know what happened to Christy Hemme.
She
was being carried off by the Swamp Thing the last time we saw her.
The Swamp Thing. That would have been better. So here we are having a sit-down interview with Sam Shaw, and he explains that he was misunderstood. He's going to go to the ring and explain himself. So we still, to this point, don't know what happened to Christy or Mr. Anderson or where either of them are. So Sam Shaw comes down to the ring for a promo. Turns out Christy had been sitting at ringside the entire time.
Yep.
No one mentioned this because they're stupid in the show, but I'm like 90% sure that Sam Shaw's music is one of Christy's songs.
Well, that would make sense.
It would make sense. It would play another story and be something to point out. But no, they just didn't bring it up. So he asked her to come into the ring so he could explain himself. And after a while, she...
Have you mentioned the Bug Eyes?
When did the Bug Eyes come in? Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, she's sitting there at ringside, and she's right next to Borash. If you've got this on tape, you got to go back and watch Borash's Bug Eyes as Sam Shaw walks past Christy Hemme. He's just got the biggest bug eyes in the world, and they're just darting back and forth from Sam Shaw to Christy and back. It was awesome.
By the way, since I confused Missy with Peaches on ECW earlier as I was watching it while reading my notes, I will plug her Twitter account here, as this is what she was doing during the Impact versus NXT head-to-head. TNA is on, and I desperately want to know if Christy Hemme survived or got beaten / killed / raped by Sam Shaw. Paige versus Emma is too good to switch. Indeed. So Christy was not beaten or killed. So anyway, Shaw calls her into the ring, and he says he was just looking out for her.
She gets in.
She voluntarily
got in the ring to hear him out.
Yeah.
What's with these idiot baby faces on this show?
He said other men have been lusting after Christy, and he was there to protect her. He said they only wanted one thing, but he wanted everything. At this point, out came Mr. Anderson with a black eye. Shaw said Anderson was one of those guys who only wanted one thing. Anderson said Shaw was a creepy bastard, and his relationship with Christy was not real. Shaw said he had never done anything lascivious to Christy, but if he had, she would have liked it. She slapped him across the face. He grabbed her. Anderson hit the ring. And long story short, Shaw caught Anderson in his standing head and arm choke. He shook him back and forth as Anderson, with 1.5 free arms and 2 free legs, had no way to escape this hold. Couldn't go to the eyes or the balls or anything. And he was also turning red, so I believe Shaw was actually choking him here. And that was that.
I had a love-hate relationship with this segment. Sam Shaw thing, I still hate. Because, again, to book a good creep, he's got to be charming. You really think he's a nice guy. You really think you'd love for him to take your daughter home. Then you find out he's a creep. This Sam Shaw guy has been completely creepy from day one. He's always creepy. There's never a moment when he's not creepy. So Christy just looks like a numbnuts for hanging out with this guy. So there were boring chants as he's doing his thing. It sucked. And then Anderson comes out, and he did get the entire crowd to chant creepy bastard. So there is a positive to this in that the fans are a little bit into this. So I have to give him credit for that. I don't even know why. I don't know what it was, but I've completely turned the corner on Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson used to be, everything he did infuriated me. You remember this period of like years?
Yes.
And I still can't handle the microphone intro. I fast forward through it every time. But Mr. Anderson has been great lately. And he did a really good job here. The standing head and arm was so goofy, but at least it finished on the mat and not just, he choked him out standing as Mr. Anderson is unable to escape. At least he got him down to the ground and then choked him out. And there were, again, loud, creepy bastard chants. So somehow they're getting Sam Shaw over to the crowd. So, I don't know. I've said it before. If it works, then maybe I'm wrong. But the whole storyline, I'm battling it until the very end before I give in.
Another Will-O-the-Wisp promo. And I was sitting here thinking, could anyone on Earth possibly be looking forward to this?
Me!
And you shouted, I can't wait!
I cannot wait for Will-O-the-Wasp to show up.
Storm and Gunner had a backstage brawl. They somehow wound up on opposite sides of a fence and shouted at each other for a while. Main event was MVP versus Bobby Roode with Austin Aries as special ref in tiny, tiny, tiny black underwear. You know those shorts Shawn Michaels used to have?
I'm still laughing at Will-O-the-Wisp. I know this is a gimmick from like 20 years ago or whatever. What the fuck is a Will-O-the-Wisp? I know Will-O-Wisp, but what was his idea with Will-O-the-Wisp? What the fuck is a wisp? I mean, I'm looking at it, and I don't know. It seems to be something from, what the hell was that movie? That was a movie oh my God, it's going to drive me absolutely nuts. No, it was just a couple of years ago. It was a Del Toro movie.
Oh, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes, Pan's Labyrinth. He looks like one of those creeps from Pan's Labyrinth.
Kind of, actually, yeah.
Yeah. What is a Will-O-the-Wisp?
Screeching and he's shrieking and
I'm very excited for it. I can't wait.
Random.
I can't
phrases.
wait. I picture him finding an old abandoned little house out in the the boondocks, and they gave him a camera, and he went in there and had his wife film him just being nuts. And they sent it to TNA. I cannot wait.
The making of these videos would be awesome.
I also love that you've got Jeff fucking Hardy. And he's going to come back as Will-O-the-Wisp.
In disguise.
Yeah.
Arguably your biggest star.
Honest to God, I've not been so excited for something in TNA since like Kurt Angle debuted in 2006. Really, what else has come close, Vinny?
Nothing.
Will-O-the-Wisp.
10-10-10. No. I'm kidding about that. So, Roode and MVP are having this match, and the crowd's chanting for Aries. He's out there in his itty-bitty trunks and no knee pads and short black shoes and socks. It's funny, but I seriously can't believe they let him go on TV like this.
I'll get to that in a second. I hate to go back to Will-O-the-Wisp. But when you go on Wikipedia, because, Will-O-the-Wisp, I mean, it was a term long before Jeff Hardy. It is atmospheric ghost lights seen by travelers at night. But the funny thing is, when you go to Will-O-the-Wisp, there's a picture of something. I don't even know what the fuck it is. But it's described as phenomenon. And that is exactly what Jeff Hardy is going to be as Will-O-the-Wisp. A phenomenon. Very excited. So anyway, Austin Aries shorts. I don't know what the hell the idea was here besides, here's the problem with Impact. Drives me crazy sometimes. So this is supposed to be like the main event storyline going into the pay-per-view, right? Mm-hmm. Who's going to be on whose team?
Yeah.
So you let this idiot come out here in these stupid shorts?
Yes.
Okay, that's a dumb idea.
I don't disagree.
Because you turn this into idiocy. Because you made it a joke by letting him come out here in these fucking shorts. You know, even Shawn Michaels' shorts weren't this short. But Shawn Michaels was like, you know, he was an annoying... When the shorts first debuted, it was the heyday of DX. He was an annoying degenerate. And he wore repulsive shorts, and he put a banana in there. Okay? That was part of the gimmick. Austin Aries coming out here in these shorts, it's nothing but a distraction. Because you're like, what the fuck is he wearing? And Taz cannot stop talking about his shorts. You know, you're not. The idea should be that you don't even notice Austin Aries until he makes a decision. All you can do is just like, it's a complete distraction. And it makes the thing a joke. So they should not have let him go out wearing this stupid outfit.
Jubs just tweeted a photo of Borash. I don't know where this is from, but he's giving the bug-eyed look while staring at some woman's chest.
Looks like Kimberly Page, probably.
Could be. So anyway, yeah, the finish here was because it's Impact, there must be a swerve in the main event. Because fans love swerves.
Yeah. That's what's kept TNA in business for the last 13 years.
Seriously, it's exactly the same thing as last week. MVP is prepping for his finish out of the corner, and when he starts to move, Aries turns on him and drops it with an elbow. And Rude hits the Rude bomb and wins. And seriously, as soon as he makes the cover, screen goes black.
Yeah.
Just no post-match at all. That was Impact, everyone. That was a better show.
A good 80 minutes. Then, I guess I probably could have used my own real sound effect for that.
Actually, that was pretty good.